Welcome to All Things Mental,
a podcast that honors the messy, beautiful, nonlinear journey of healing. Because healing isn't about fixing what's broken.
It's about discovering what you need in this moment and learning to trust yourself along the way.
Here, we share stories, resources, and reminders that you're never alone on your path.
So take a breath, lean in, and remember,
you are not broken.
You're just becoming a more beautiful version of your higher self. We're your co-hosts, Michelle
and Liana,
here to remind you that
you're never alone
on your healing journey.
Welcome back to this episode of All Things Mental. This episode is titled All Things Love Me,
Validate Me,
and Tell Me I'm Pretty.
Yay!
Welcome to the show, babe.
Thank you.
We have a very special guest this episode, Michelle's wonderful husband. So thank you so much for joining.
Of course. No, thank you guys for having me. It's very exciting to be here, especially listening to you guys every week talk about this. It's been wonderful to see you guys on this journey.
Oh, thank you. This means a lot to us. Yeah, this episode is going to really focus on how to support your partner through mental health, healing journeys, struggles, anything of the like. I know this is a very anticipated episode because I've been talking to one of our friends. Shout out to my friend Renee, who listens. Nice to see you. She is an avid listener so far, and she asked if we would ever talk about, doing this with our partners and things like that, because she listens with her partner, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
I love she listens with her partner.
Yeah, hopefully we can give her partner a bunch of good ideas.
Yes,
it's a jumping off point.
Of course, yeah, because each relationship, we said this before we started recording, each relationship is different and each person in the relationship is different. And we've had seasons where we had to take a couple days before we could rediscuss something. Because as I mentioned on previous episodes, when it comes to me processing things, I have a tendency of needing a day or two to process. And when we first started dating, he hated that.
Because I'm one of those, we've already talked about it. It's done. It's over. We've moved on. I'm very quick to process, very quick to figure it out in my own head. And then once I have that solution stuck in my head, I'm like, all right, we're good. Let's go. Let's keep moving forward. And then she would a day or two later say, can we circle back? She never said circle back. Can we circle back and talk through this? Because now I'm at the same spot you are, and like she said, it was very frustrating for me at first until we had that conversation. We realized, okay, we process very differently. Our joke was, I take 3 to 5 business minutes, she takes 3 to 5 business days.
Wow.
And so it's finally at that, even now we'll have that one where when we've had an issue and we're all right, we've kind of discussed the outline, she'll be are you okay bringing this back up? I'm yeah. Now that I know it's coming,
the boundaries there.
Right. Now that I know it's coming again, I'm not just going to be blindsided about it. And that was always the thing. I always felt, because in my mind, it was done. The argument was done. The discussion was over. We figured out the solution, or part of the solution. It was all right, I'm done. We could move on. And then it just came back up, and that was what was always frustrating me. So once we kind of figured out where both of our disconnect was, that's when, I don't want to say arguments got easy, but solutions and compromises got infinitely easier.
Something to know about my husband is that he is the kind of person that if he sees a problem, he's going to try to solve it. And I think that comes from just his upbringing, and honestly, probably the fact that you worked in a care home.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's very guy coded in general.
Definitely.
It's very much that you give me a problem, I have to solve it. And I think I've gotten a lot better at it.
You have. And like I said, we don't really fight. And when we do, it's a disagreement, and we'll discuss it before we move on. But to get into our questions, you worked in a care home before. So what insight can you offer our listeners or our listeners' partners that are just starting their healing journey to best support their partners?
So in case anyone doesn't know, care home is a different level of care. Not a lot of health industry has a care home level. So at the very base level is a group home. This is very minimum level of support needed. Usually people who are in and out of episodes or events when they just need that little bit of extra support that they can't get normally. And then on the other end, you have the actual like nursing homes, the forever homes, that level of care.
Okay.
So a care home is in that middle range. So when I worked there, we dealt with various different mental and physical handicaps. Anything from severe levels of autism, bipolar, manic depressive, schizophrenia, and even just dementia, old age, various mental and physical. I know some of our clients had like just COPD, just had trouble breathing. So like they just needed that
Support.
correct. And so that's really what we were there like more as a support system. And like I said, it was their house. We just kind of enforced the rules. And so that's kind of where my like knowledge of mental health and especially how to deal with multiple different types of people and types of issues came from. So yeah, so I did that for about 3 years. And I mean, I have stories upon stories, but in general, I don't like to make too light of another person's life and struggles. But yeah, that's where my background in kind of being more prepared than an average person would be at having a partner who's a little neurospicy sometimes.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, I think on the last episode we recorded, I have had my therapist say to me, "Is he a therapist?" I'm like, "No, he's not. But thank you for, feeding his ego."
Aw, that's so nice. So you come with that understanding, and then that allows you to support Michele in a beautiful way, and I think that's really special.
Yeah,
for sure.
Awesome. So how does that indirectly or directly affect your way that you do support Michele? Like, what tools or tips or tricks that you use on a regular basis that you could then share with our audience?
right. So honestly, it's about listening in a different kind of way, because relationships are hard. Even when like everyone's on the same wavelength, like relationships can be hard, and especially when you have somebody who's going through their healing journey, or really suffering with whatever's going on in their head. It can be multiple times even more difficult. And a lot of times you're banging your head against the wall, being like, I don't know how to help you. And the person who's experiencing this is the same way. They're like, I know I'm acting up. I don't want to be acting up. This is just as frustrating to me experiencing it as it is to you. Like, you just visit. I live here daily. Like, and it's kind of like coming at it from that sort of perspective. It's the idea that like, yeah, when she would have a various an anxiety or a panic attack or a stress moment, it's for me it's frustrating in the moment, like she said, because I want to fix it immediately. But also it's the fact that like it's a huge disruption of our lives, of just whatever was going on. And like, it's always taking that step back, like, yeah, this is frustrating to me, but it's 10 times more so because she lives it every second. And like, yeah, she doesn't want to be having a panic attack or a stress attack right now either. But you can't help it. That's just the whatever's going on in your brain chemistry that's just so off kilter. And so like, once you can really like internalize that, taking that step back for a second, like, yeah, this sucks in the moment for me, but it's not about me anymore. It's about helping this person with however you find that way to do it. For me, a lot of the times it was
Snuggles.
Definitely.
It really helped, especially when I remember, I will never forget this. I remember the first time that, not like the first time that we were intimate, but like later on down the road when I had a moment where like he hurt me, but he didn't mean to. And
It's like a little
it like caused me to disassociate and essentially start like thinking back to when I was sexually assaulted. And so like he would bring me out of it, and like I'd be staring, he'd be like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And then once he realized I was back, he would then do what he does best, fix the problem.
Right.
Aw.
And so again, for that, in that specific case, it's like noticing your partner. So like there's a very clear like snap where it's like she's disassociating during intimate time. And like it's that instant, like almost like not quite like clamming up, but like they're like the
blank stare kind of thing.
not just a blank stare,
that's
but
what
like,
it is for me. I
right.
feel like it's a blank stare, but it might be different. It might be a different perspective
Right.
for you.
Yeah. So it wasn't just the blank stare, but it was like also like how her body was responding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that not quite a total shutdown, but like all of a sudden, like it's not right. And it's being able, regardless of where you are mentally, I might be, having the time of my life in this moment, but noticing that and being able to stop quickly. You're like, all right, she's having a moment, I need to stop. I need to stop doing anything sexual with her, and then start slowly working towards bringing her back to reality.
Yeah, and then after those moments would pass, we would either stop being intimate or continue. It just depended on each particular situation.
There were times where, like, obviously, after that whole ordeal, she wasn't in the mood anymore, or, me going from one end to the other as quickly as my brain could process it just kind of threw me out of the mood too. So it was even, it's like, I was like, she's like, I want it. I'm like, I'm good. We can
like, yeah. So
let's
like
reconvene at a later date.
Like our role in the relationship, and this should be a role in any relationship especially when you're intimate with your partner, is that if you at any point while you're being intimate with your partner, you change your mind, you need to tell your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And because no means no, even if you originally said yes.
Anything but an emphatic yes is a no. That's
right.
Always the way I've done it. So, but yeah, so it's little things like that, but it's like things that you don't think about until you're in the moment. And it's having that prior experience where I don't panic about it as well. If someone's having an anxiety attack in front of you or panic attack in front of you, your first instinct is to kind of like get in their face and start like, why
Which
are you like this?
Which you used to do, not like that, but like you used to like get in my face. Like I remember through you talking just now or a couple minutes ago, it reminded me of a time back before we lived together. You, me, and your best friend were out drinking, and I just had like a panic attack. And even his best friend noticed that I was like not the same.
Mm.
And I like said to them, I'm gonna go outside and catch some fresh air. So like I went outside the bar and just like sat where they could still see me, because as I mentioned before, him and his best friend were my personal bodyguards whenever we went drinking in Orlando. So I went outside and I just kind of like relaxed for a minute, but I like could see out of the corner of my eye the two of them talking, and he wanted to come out there right away. His best friend was like, give her a few minutes. Like I don't think that's what he said exactly, but essentially similar. And then you can go check on her. And a couple of minutes later, he came out, and like my husband. And then like a few minutes later, his best friend came in and goes, all right, I paid the bill. Are we good? We want to go to the next bar. Do you want to go home? So even his best friend understood that like, hey, like I'm going to sometimes have this or have that.
Mm. Wow. That's really amazing that you can recognize when it's happening and then know to shift the behavior or shift the energy and just be able to get into that support mode where like you're not trying to fix the problem, but you're also trying to just soothe and let it pass, because that's the best thing you can do for big emotions like anxiety and more. Just you guys are so sweet.
Oh, I just need to stretch my arms. This isn't me trying to be cute.
No, I know, but it's nice because like it's important, like Michele, you've shared before with either me, I don't know if we were on recording or just talking, how like your husband will just hold you when you cry and just let you cry. And like my husband does the same thing for me. Like if I'm having a big emotion or something, like just holding me while I'm having that and then letting it pass and then eventually talking about it and saying, what do you need? What can we do, to help to feel better? So
Yeah. I've talked about that before on the podcast. I know that for a fact. Like, I remember the first time that I ever cried in front of him, and I like kind of like stopped and was like, I can do this later. And he kind of like looked at me and was like, baby, let it out. And then when I got that permission, I cried for
waterfalls.
yeah.
It wasn't just that moment. It was all of those built up, that like first permission, really.
Yeah, because as a child, because I told him the other day, because we were texting and he was being his sassy, dramatic self. And like he said, I don't remember what we were talking about exactly, but like I gave him a whole bunch of reasons of why I love him. Because like he was like, he had said, wait, you love me? And I'm like, yes, I do. And I like listed out a whole bunch because I was being sassy, but I appreciate all these compliments. But one of the compliments was that you heal me on a weekly basis without even realizing it. And in that moment when he told me I could cry, like that, like thinking about it now, it's like when I was a kid, I was told, oh, the crocodile tears again. Oh, the crocodile tears again. And then, so like, I didn't cry that much. And when I did, they would be big tears. And like now that still kind of happens, but like I was the same way when it came to like movies. I'm like, you can't cry, even though this is a sad scene. You can't cry. Hold it in. Like he helped me heal that it's okay to cry.
That's good. Yeah, it's important to feel our feelings as they come up and just let them pass through, because a lot of the time it's the resistance of the emotion that causes more internal stress and pain than just letting it process and go through. Like I think it's something like 60 seconds or 90 seconds or something. Like you just feel it for that like 1 minute average time, and then it passes and you're like, okay, I can kind of breathe this through and like do some damage control and see what I need and heal from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Were there any times that any PTSD or big emotions that Michele would go through that ever like really dramatically scared you, or like, I don't know if there's any example that comes to mind?
One comes to mind for sure. And if you're thinking what I'm thinking, you can share it.
No, you can share, because I was gonna say for the most part, no. Like I said, for me personally, because I had already seen it, done it all. But for a new partner coming into it, it can be incredibly scary to just see something that you're used to in one light in a completely different headspace and attitude. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Like that's what I was saying, where it's like it's that moment where you have to like take a step back from yourself. And like, yeah, this person is having an experience that I'm not used to, I'm not familiar with. And being able to like kind of separate yourself out for a second and then look at it more critically. Because I used to tell her all the time, she was like, you never get stressed, you never get anxious. I was like, I do, but my 10, my top level anxiety is like a 3 to you. We all experience these emotions. It's just neurospicy people experience them to a wildly disproportionate amount. Everyone's had a depressive episode, but when you are clinically depressed, it hits you in a way that, unless you've been like that, you don't really understand. Like, yeah, I mean, I've had an anxiety attack once or twice in my life, but like those moments to me, while it felt like the worst 10 of my life, if Michele was going through that, she'd be like, this is Tuesday. So like,
yeah.
So like it's I think for me that was like the click moment when I was working at the care home. It's like understanding like I feel the same feelings, just to a lesser degree. We've all had those little OCD moments, but then when you watch someone who cannot stop the compulsion until the whole sequence is completed, and if you break it at any moment, the amount of stress and anxiety over something as simple as snapping at the wrong time. And you look at that and you're like, to me, it doesn't make sense. But that's because, my compulsion to create order and regiment is more, I don't want to say normal, but more subdued than someone who has those kinds of issues. Same thing, bipolar. We all have mood swings, but a bipolar mood swing is something, it's not even a mood at that point. It's more like the rose glasses that you wear over your whole experience. We talk about rose tinted glasses when everything looks happy, like you're in love, or you're like just elated all the time. But like depression is the same thing. It's a blue tinted glass. You can't be happy because you can only see through the lens of depression.
Yeah.
When you're see someone going through a massive like bipolar swing, it's just like they just go from one pair of glasses to the other. They can be manic for 2-3 days at a time, getting 2-3 hours of sleep. And you're like, this is weird. And then, for a week or two, they'll be fine. And then out of nowhere, the glasses switch to a blue. And then you've got, a whole month of depression and they just can't get out of it. And so kind of like seeing how, I can empathize to a point, but that empathy stops because the level that you experience is so drastically different than the level your partners experience it. And that's where like the compassion has to fill the gap.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like really understanding that was what really helped me create that kind of connection. But you were about to say the one time you saw me freak out.
So I don't remember this. He told me this. So there was a time, I don't know when it was, but I was like, I had the thoughts of like, oh, you should do this or oh, you should do that to hurt yourself. And I shared this with him and I forgot to tell him that they were just intrusive thoughts. And I fell asleep. So he came home freaking out, thinking he was going to find his wife dead.
Yeah. This was relatively early in our relationship.
We weren't even married at that point. We were just dating.
Still dating.
But still.
And this, the ideations.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Ideations,
yeah. Were particularly bad at that point. Like she was very early in her healing journey. And so a lot of it was still very fresh wounds. And, she wasn't really sure how much of it was just, that voice in the back of your head talking about it, because that's just the go-to coping mechanism she had for years, or if it was the actual like urge and desire to do it. Like that clarity hadn't come to her yet. And so when, she's like, oh, I've been feeling this way, this kind of way. I've been thinking about doing it this way or doing it that way. And what would be the easiest way for you after I'm gone if I did it like, and explain it again. Thankful
this happened all before this particular experience that I just referred to.
Yeah.
Okay. Just clarifying for myself and for our listeners.
Yeah. And so, I'm at work, I'm reading through this. I'm like, all right, great. She's, talking through it. That's good. And again, it's that not being freaked out at that moment. But then it was when I was, getting closer to the end of my shift, it was like, hey babe, what are you doing? How are you feeling? And then I just didn't get anything for like an hour. Mm-hmm. And then, finished my work up, cleaned the kitchen as fast as I could, ran out the door, sped all the way home, and, in the back of my mind, I'm like 99% positive that she's fine. Probably fell asleep or my phone died or something. Has to be the rational choice. But again, that irrational part of my mind, it's like, no, you're going to find her dead in the bathtub. She had a slit her wrist or she drowned herself or like whatever. And then the rush home and then, just straight to the bathroom. Like no one in there. She was asleep. I think maybe on the couch.
I was on the couch because you had also checked the bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No. Yeah. And then finally, like there she is on the couch, just sleeping peacefully away and that big ass sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Sorry. And like I said, like I was, very incredibly anxious in that moment. Like you feel those same emotions, but like, again, like I said, not to the same degree.
Well, yeah, because we've talked about this before on the podcast, Liana. You and I feel things way deeper than I know I feel them deeper than my partner. I can't speak for your partner, but
Mhm.
like we're empathetic human beings and we're already like balls of emotions sometimes. So like that kind of like plays into it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I appreciate you sharing this story because I don't know, I don't know if you could see what I'm wearing, but I have my American Foundation for Suicide Prevention vest on right now. And this is a cause that I'm very passionate about and something that I've dealt with, having my own intrusive thoughts, thoughts of death and everything like has consumed me in the past. And to know that I've had my husband here for me through all of that time, to make sure that I wouldn't go, is really important to get the help that I needed and to move forward. And just to see that, Michele, you still are here too, because of your husband. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I just want to say thank you to our special guest, so that you just know that, someone like Michele is here to have this life worth living. And
Absolutely.
I think it's so powerful and amazing that you care so much, and that, the deep emotional waves and ebbs and flows don't send you running. It actually brings you closer.
Yeah. And when we first got together, like I gave him so many outs and he's like, no, I know what I signed up for. But like you get to the point. I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, I was
okay. No,
like, just gonna agree.
We're very attuned to each other. Like I remember when his dad died, and I got a text from him going, "Hey, I'm gonna call you when I get home." I'm like, it's weird. He never does that. And I had like this, like, I was gonna say to him, "No, you don't have to call me. You can just text me." But I had this gut feeling, no, he needs to call you. So he called me, and this is literally how it went down. Hey, babe, how are you? How was your day? I'm like, it was pretty good. How about you? Mine was really good till I found out my dad died. I'm like, what? That's how he told me his father died. But like, that's how he was processing it.
Yeah, yeah. I will never forget that ride home. It was just 40 minutes of me just cursing him up and down. But
he died young.
Yeah.
Like he joked that he would live with us, and he does, but it's his ashes.
Oh,
yeah,
he did. He made it.
He made it. Just not in the form we wish he was here in.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, and that was, in some ways, I think that was harder for Michele at times than it was for me. Because, like I said, I'd process it quickly. By the end of that week, like I had come to terms with, I accepted it, speed ran the 5 stages, so to speak.
He started making fun of it at one point.
When you're in that industry for so long, you've seen so much death, like you become very jaded to it.
Yeah.
And like the dark, any field, any industry where there's a lot of death or a lot of high stress, the dark humor creeps in, and you need it. You need that vent to release all that pressure.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, obviously that's where I kind of found a lot of that relief as well. Yep. But
I cried at your dad's funeral, and I remember putting my head on my wifey's shoulder so that way you couldn't see, but he knew because he saw me, and he's like, "You're putting your head on her shoulder because you don't want me to see that you're crying, but because you did that, I know that you're crying."
Very, very subtle, but yeah, but like through that process of me, like, coming to grips with his death and all that, I was in Florida, he was up in Pennsylvania. So, just like every like 15, 20 minutes I'm at work, I'm getting phone calls.
Yeah. Like he had a voicemail from his aunt who used like one of his nicknames, basically. He was like, "I need you to call me, honey. We need to talk."
Yeah.
And then he called her back, and she was like, "Are you sitting down?" And
I wasn't.
He wasn't. And
was.
She was like, "Okay, well, I need you to sit down." And then she told him what happened.
Yeah, and then through all that, and she keeps like, "You were always there for me. I want to be there for you." I'm like, "You are, but I'm not doing enough. I feel like I'm not doing as much as you did for me." I'm like, because I don't need you to.
Yeah.
I'm processing this in my own way, in my own time.
Yeah.
If I need you to, give me some extra attention or to love me in the way I need to be loved, I will let you know. And she's just still like, anxious for me. She's like, I feel bad. I don't want to cry because it's his dad. And I know I loved him and he loved me, but it's his dad. And I shouldn't be feeling more feelings about it than he is. It's not that I wasn't, it's just I wasn't showing it in the way that she's used to seeing.
Yeah. But with that being said, I have a question for you. This is mainly for our audience because Liana and I both know what love me, validate me, and tell me I'm pretty means. Can you explain what that means to our listeners?
So, a little bit of backstory. Obviously, we're big music theater nerds. And if you've ever met anyone in theater or acting, you know that they're all about external validation. If you're not applauding for me, you don't love me. And that became a kind of running joke when a bunch of our friends hit college. And it was just that quick little love me, validate me, tell me I'm pretty. It's like, shaking them, love me, validate me. It's just that quick little external validation.
And it became
became a meme, a little meme among our friend group.
Yep.
This was before memes were even a big thing.
No, you made memes a big thing, babe. Let's be real here.
But yeah, it was the in joke for years and just kind of became a permanent part of my lexicon.
Very good.
It's just that quick little, hey, I need some external validation. I need some love.
And he'll let me know.
Just tell me I'm pretty.
He's gotten better at it with me as well. But as he mentioned earlier in the episode, like it took time for us to get to know how we both process things. Like for him, he processes, like Mary talked about this recently on her podcast episode with her husband about how there's one person in the relationship that processes internally and there's one person that processes externally, and they marry each other. Yeah. I'm the one that processes out loud. He processes inside and doesn't need to talk about it with me, but that makes me feel like, okay, but I'm not doing enough when really I am, because I am doing
sometimes just being there is enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really big thing. It's just being there can sometimes be enough. It's that you don't have to do anything. You just love me, validate me, tell me I'm pretty. Just let me know you're there for me. And sometimes that's all it took. Just knowing that the person that loves you is sitting right next to you can help you get through it.
And you can do that even for people who you're not romantically involved with. Like, this isn't just about a relationship between like a couple. Like, I remember a couple of years ago when I was going through my depression and our roommate was still living with us. I bought them this thing that is like a heart, but like clear. And it said something about thank you for being a friend and thank you for being there for me. And I bought it for them because they didn't realize how much them just living with us helped me through that depression.
Just having that support system.
Yeah, having that support system, having them like run out and just like rant to me about something, because we have this joke that our roommate is our personal Wikipedia, because they like once they watch a movie or read a book or whatever form of media, they then go on a Wikipedia dump and read everything and they remember all of it. Like, it's stored in their brain, like, good for them. But like, I gave it to them and then got like emotional, and I'm not laughing because they got emotional. I'm laughing because they're like, but wait, I'm supposed to be supporting you and you're supporting me right now. I'm like, that's okay, honey. I'm feeling better. I got this because I'm feeling better. And I wanted to thank you for just being there for me.
For getting that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so special. I truly think that in this life, it takes, that phrase, it takes a village, but I think that there's more than that, because if you have that one person or couple of select people, whether it's your partner or your, like you said, your roommate or your best friend or somebody that's outside of your maybe family that you grew up with or something that may have caused some trauma or whatever, and then you have this support system that you can call in and bring in, and then they show up and they're there for you. Like, that's so special. Like, very recently, my husband had a surgical procedure, and he is okay. He's on the healing path, but I work full time and I need help around the house and things, and he is not able to do it as well right now. Like it's falling more on me, which I'm okay with. I understand, like, this is our phase of life right now. And his family was able to come stay with us for a few days, like I think a total of like 5 or 6 days, like just taking shifts of who was coming at which time. And it was like really nice to just have that support, because they knew we needed it, and they showed up, no questions asked, and it was just really amazing.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful, because like we've talked about this before. Like, you have your family that is blood, and then you have like your May family, or like, your significant others. But like at the end of the day, like, he even helped heal our roommate when they moved in. And when they moved up to New Jersey, I remember them texting. You want to tell this part?
Yeah, they were, one of the family members was going through a big life changing moment for them, unfortunately for the ill, and they texted a video, voice. I think it was a voice memo.
I think they voice memoed you. Yeah,
and they voice like, guys, what did you do? How did you fix me? What did you do that I can do to help? Because one of my family members is going through it right now, and I don't know how to be there for them. And I was like, well, you're halfway there because you want to be. It's just being there, listening, loving it, validating, support. Like, that's really it. I mean, the quote really does say it all.
Yeah, it really does. But I have a question. This is more like a selfish question for me, myself, but like it's in our questions. Did the PTSD I experienced ever freak you out? Why not?
Again,
or
like
why?
for me, like I said earlier in the pod, for me, it was, I'd already seen that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had my freak outs about someone freaking out.
Oh, so you pre-freaked out, so you were prepared for
right.
Bay. Okay.
Right. So it really does become a matter of, like I said, stepping back. It's like, it's not about me anymore. Doesn't matter what I'm feeling, doesn't matter where I'm at. You are the priority at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Just like when there's times where, like, because he has his moments too, and I'm there for him. But like a lot of this goes out more so to anybody that doesn't know how to, like, express their feelings, which we can all get. But when you do, I know it might be uncomfortable at first, but share, even if it's a sentence or two with your partner, because like, they're not a mind reader. They can't figure, like, there'll be times where he tells me, baby, I know you think I can read you like an open book, and I can for the most part. But there are times where I'm like, okay, what are you actually thinking? And it's easier to say it than to have the other person assume it.
Yeah, just use your words. Assumptions create the majority of disagreements and arguments. It's just that simple. Like she said, like, at this point, like, I know her tells. I know when she's feeling some type of way. Sometimes even before she's consciously
and it's so frustrating when he does that, because he's like, babe, are you okay? And I'm like, right? Yeah.
She's like,
why?
Right.
And then like a
she gets so offended by just why.
I'm like,
and she's like,
wait
a second,
he was right.
She's like, I wasn't okay.
You can pick up on the energy. I think that's really powerful.
But again, that's something that I developed over the course of my life. Being able to see that in a person, like I said, sometimes before they can, and that's something that you can't really expect most people to have. And so it's that line of communication that, like, this is up here, let me get it out.
Yeah.
And especially because things will sound good in your head, and like you'll create this own little like echo chamber in your head. And then once you say it out loud and you hear it for real, you're like, no, that was the dumbest thing I've ever thought. Or like, you just need someone to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Obviously, I mean, communication, but that means different things to different people. And so finding the common language to communicate, not just with your partner, but with anybody,
Yeah.
it goes a huge way in helping to process through whatever they're going through, especially if they're having a moment or if they're having an episode.
Yeah. Like I remember towards the end of the therapist that told me I had PTSD, I wanted to know how I could stop it. To which he goes, well, at the time he was my boyfriend. Like, well, I need your boyfriend here. And I was like, he's not going to want to come in. Like, because like I was, again, still early on in my healing journey. So I text him and he was like, yeah, I'll come in. And it's like, okay, cool. So he came in and we worked through it. And at the time, I didn't know that that was my last session with her. But she's like, you don't need me anymore. I would like go back here and there for like, refilling the oil, tune-ups here and there. And I do have a therapist now who is in the process of actually diagnosing me with my ADHD. And so far I'm neurospicy. But his joke right now is I'm just the H, because I've talked about this before on the pod where they told me I was only hyper. I wasn't the other 3 letters. So I'm going in for the other 3 letters.
Gotta collect
them all.
Oh man, our journeys are so similar with that, because like I just finished, as of this past week, my assessment for myself or for ADHD or whichever version of it I have, which I'm curious to know the answer as well. But next week on Tuesday, I'm going to go in the morning and hopefully she'll have tallied all the data and it'll have an answer, and we'll be able to explore some more treatment options and just ways to communicate and talk, because I've needed that. There's been a lot going on in the world and in life, and it's just nice to have that layer of support than just feeling like I have to do it on my own.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Sure. I admire you both so much, and I just want to know, like, a question, maybe like Michelle, you said you had a selfish question. I have a bit of a selfish question, like in terms of like, how do you not let resentments build up? Like if there's any little bit of annoyance, I guess, is there anything that you can share to that kind of question?
Yeah. So like definitely there have been times where like I've been really annoyed, or like sometimes it feels like because she has more severe issues than I am, that I can not necessarily be neglected, but kind of feel neglected. Like I don't get that same space. Absolutely. That's just a natural part of any relationship.
It's being like a
human.
Yeah.
But again, I think talking about it is just like, hey, you made me feel this type of way. And even if it was a cause of, an episode caused it, you still have to hold accountability for it. And that's the thing. Like, just whatever you said when you had a PTSD moment, you still said it.
Or when you're hangry.
You still said it. You still did it. You still have to hold yourself accountable to that. I think that's a big thing about it. But also, like, don't sweat the small stuff. Or what is it?
I'm pretty sure that's the quote.
Yes. No. It's don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things.
That's pretty good.
Which reminds me, I have another question for you once you're done, and then we obviously want to ask you our guest question.
But yeah, honestly, like that's really it for me. It's mostly about an issue of just letting it go. Like, she was hangry. If she does it again, I'll bring it up. If it was a one-off thing, I can just put it aside, and like just don't let that fester. Don't let it build up. Just like talk about it. It can be very hard, especially if you come from a place, speaking from like a guy's perspective as in society. I was very blessed that my mom and dad were both very open with their emotions. They're very open about my brother and I expressing ourselves, even when it was big or complex or difficult to. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And I think that was a big part of it. Like, yeah, I don't talk about my feelings often because I don't feel the need to. Not because society tells me I shouldn't. And I think that distinction is very important, at least for me mentally. And when, especially for guys, talking about their mental health, talking about their feelings, our emotional landscape is just as complex as anyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
But it's societally speaking, you don't do that. And that can be very hard to have those open, very, very vulnerable conversations sometimes, especially when you're not used to ever doing it. So that can feel especially raw. But yeah, it's just that thing. Ease into it. Small conversations. The more you talk, the easier it becomes.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's important, I think, because it just comes back to that theme of like healthy communication and emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, noticing your partner, like all the things that you've been saying have been really, really quintessential in just our thinking of, healthy partnerships and supporting one another in life.
Oh, for sure. So on a previous episode, me and Liana were talking, and I mentioned how you have this rule to let the silly, intrusive thoughts win sometimes.
Right.
Can you explain that? Because I don't think I explained it very well on that particular episode.
So like we're saying, everyone experiences an intrusive thought every once in a while, or maybe not intrusive to the same degree that someone who's a little more spicy experiences them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're fighting, sometimes you feel like you're fighting your own mind. And it's the idea that well, if I do something a little silly, you just have to, what was the last time I did something?
It was you licked me.
Right.
He does it all the time, to the point that I will message my wifey and be like, he licked my face again. And then she will yell at him, and then he'll be like, yes, yell. And then he'll be like, but the spot where I licked her, notice how she doesn't get pimples there? My saliva is pimple free. And we're both like, shut up. No, it's not.
But yeah, and then you get you just let that, like a release valve, just let it out. It's it's in the back of your mind, just do it, 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 just do it. And then you do it. And then it releases. And then when you get one of the bigger ones where it's I can cause a 7-car pileup and be on the news tonight. And you're like, whoa. Let's take a step back for a second. Maybe a little bit of an extreme reaction, brain. Let's talk that one through. So yeah, and that, I mean,
I have
no
to spot
evidence.
sometimes to bite him. And I've seen things online that apparently that's normal in a relationship for a partner to have the impulse to just want to bite their partner. But I want to bite his nose, and he hates it when I do that. So I'll I'll poke it, and he'll be like, "You want to bite it, don't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, a little bit."
Well, it's like that. When you look at something so small and cute, you're like, I just want to eat it. It's just,
you just want to squeeze your little face, which reminds me, I mentioned this to him after the podcast episode that Sally had her little premiere. I'm like, he heard that Sally was on, so he had to come on.
I was like,
he has to come on the podcast.
Yay! Do you want to do the honors, Michelle, and ask the guest question, or do you want to say something else?
Before you ask the guest question, are there any other questions you have?
Ooh, in the house.
Yes, Liana.
Anything you
can always communicate with him after this. Remember, but he is a delight. He says it's okay to curse on this podcast. It's okay. Mary said the F word. She was the first one to drop it, and I was like, you know what, cool. But
I tried so hard.
His joke is that he's a fucking delight.
I love that.
But anyways, do you have any other questions before I ask the guest question, which I already know his answer, but we need to get it on recording.
Right, of course. Let's see. I guess in terms of that cliche of each person giving, it's 50%, you're my better half, you're my other half, you're my this half, 50%, 50%. I like to challenge that and say we each give what 100% looks like on a daily basis. Like, and our 100% might be 80 from the previous day.
Right.
And, you know, right now, like I said, me and my husband are in a time where he is at like functioning at like a 20% maybe or less, you know, type of thing, just because of his surgery and everything that he had to go through, and now dealing with a cold on top of that. I'm just like, oh, so, you know, it's just like, it's, how do you navigate those ebbs and flows of like giving more, like if it's for an extended amount of time, or like maybe if it's just a day or a week or whatever, like how do you navigate that?
So kind of two ways. The first part is always with humor. Because that's just my natural coping mechanism. Sometimes it'll be something, you know.
He's a walking dad joke. And I mean that in like a nice way.
The most loving way possible.
The most loving way possible. I don't mean that in like a mean way.
My joke usually is, Mom said it's my turn with the sad.
Yes, that's how he tries to get me out of it. He goes, no, you've been in the weird mood for the last 3 days. It's my turn. Mom said it's my turn.
Mom said it's my turn to have the weird mood. I'm allowed to be sad today. And like I said, there's no resentment there. And I think that's the thing. It's like our relationship isn't transactional. And I think that's, no relationship should be, unless it's with your employer. But that's the thing, like thinking of that in terms of like, oh, I gave 50% yesterday, so you have to give 50% today. I think that's where a lot of that resentment and disconnect comes into. Because it's not, you know, some days, you know, I'm pulling, I don't want to say it like that, but like I'm pulling 80% of the weight in the relationship because she can't do more than 20%. You know, the depression hit hard, and, you know, she stressed at work, and there's just bare minimum is barely possible. And, you know, you just pick up the slack. It's because I know if I hit that point,
and he has, and I've done it,
she'll do her best to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And again, it might not, you know, my picking up the slack might not be the same as hers, you know, because, you know, if I can only give 60% instead of that 80%, but still, that's, like I said, it's not transactional. It's just you do what you can.
Based on the situation, based on the season.
Right, because it's always changing. It always ebbs and flows. Like there are days where I just can't possibly muster up the energy to even fold the laundry. And you're like, yeah. And that was like one of the.
And I don't like folding laundry, but
like,
when he's in that state, I'll either be like, okay, he'll get to it, or it's been a couple of days and I'm like, I'm gonna do this for him, because like, we love languages, get to know your person's love language, not even just your person, your friends too.
Love them how they love you, because sometimes that's the easiest way.
You can start there.
You know, how we express love is often how we want to experience it.
Yeah.
At least authentically. And I think that's a really important thing. You know, just, you know, love me the way I want to be loved, or the way I ignore myself. Because oftentimes when we feel like we have to punish ourselves for our behavior or our thoughts, we will remove the love that our love language from our life.
That's a very good point. But
yeah, so like I said, it's not, there's never any resentment about it, because like I said, I walked into the situation. I chose this. I knew situations like these would come. And so it's on me to navigate my own feelings about that. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's not transactional. You know, it doesn't matter if in the grand scheme of life, Michele got 100 love points and I only got 98. That those numbers, there's no such numbers like that. And that's what's important. It's not that I gave her more love. It's just I gave her love when she needed it and in the way she needed it. And in return, you know, especially in a healthy relationship that we continue to build, she will give me the love I need when I need it. And that might feel like less.
Yeah.
It just because I seem to be doing more actions, the actions that she has just as much meaning.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So I think that's a really good way of thinking about it. It's not necessarily like I said, not necessarily transactional, but meaningful.
Because I asked him out when we got back together, and I remember what he said. You said to me, I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. I want to think about it. And he thought about it, and I thought, I'm never going to hear from this man again.
But nope, he's gone.
He's gone forever. I'm going to be ghosted just like the last couple of times. And then we had a conversation, and it was like a day later.
Yeah, like I said, 3 to 5 business minutes. I got home, thought about it on the ride home, took a shower, slept on it. I was like, all right, figured out where I was in my headspace, especially at the time out relationships and what our relationship meant to me, or the potential of a relationship could mean.
Which honestly is a perfect segue into our guest question. If you could go back to a moment you were struggling mentally, what would you say to yourself knowing what you know now?
I don't know. I feel like I'm just as dumb now as this.
The response that I thought he was going to say, because he had told me something completely different. So, okay.
So I can think of a couple times where like I was kind of like at rock bottom. And, even if it's coming from yourself, when you're in those places, it doesn't matter what anyone says. You need to come to that energy in your own time.
Situationship for me, for sure. Like, I had friends tell me for years, leave, and I finally did it when I was ready. So yeah, I feel that.
Right. And you can hear the same advice 100 times, but it's that one day when you're just ready to hear it.
And hearing it from somebody else that's not your partner. Kidding.
Hearing it, and again, it could be the 101st time you've heard it, but it's the first time you really hear it. It clicks for you. When you're experiencing what at the time felt like rock bottom to you, there's no, it's all irrational.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could say to yourself. There's nothing anyone else can say to you. You just need to process it in its own time. Would I love to tell myself things like, oh, she didn't matter, or it'll get better, or, in a couple months, your life will be new and interesting in ways you could never imagine. You will be more successful than you ever thought you could be. At 24, I completely uprooted my life and started fresh. And I was incredibly blessed to have that opportunity.
You were 24 and you moved to Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so. It's over a decade ago at this point, so
yeah.
It had to be. But yeah, I was completely uprooted in my life. I just happened to have the support system that allowed that
His
to happen.
best friend.
But there's plenty, and so I know not a day goes by that I'm not thankful for that blessing, for that opportunity. Of course, everything else was that hard work. My hard work, the love and support of people around me. But it was really the luck and the love I had that gave me that opportunity. So when I was mid-20s, early 20s, I really didn't think I had a future. There was nothing that inspired me. There was nothing. I chose not to go to college because I didn't want to go into debt to hope I could figure out what to do with the rest of my life.
Which I think is very brave of him to do, because like our society, like, go to college, do this, do that. Like, there's a whole like process to it. But like, if I think about the guest question that we ask people, I kind of agree with you. Like, I wouldn't have listened to Healed Me. I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. But at the same time, like, I said this before on the pod and I'll say it again. I believe everything happens for a reason within reason. And if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be the person I am sitting before you today, recording this episode of All Things Mental.
Right. Yeah. If I didn't hit rock bottom when I did, I wouldn't have moved down to Florida when I did. I probably would have never moved down.
Yeah.
I might have lived my whole life in that headspace of, I will never do anything. I can never accomplish anything. It was
my best friend still would have figured out a way to get us together.
Yeah. Maybe. It was hitting that rock bottom, seeing where that thought process led me to, and then slowly rebuilding myself up afterwards. It kind of had to happen. Sometimes the only way you can learn is by experiencing it.
For sure.
And anytime I was really low down like that, where having my 10, 15, 20-year future self say, hey, it'll get better. You wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't be able to hear that.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I would like to say that there's some kernel of truth that I could have passed on to myself, 10 years ago that would have made the rest of my life easier. I honestly don't think I could have heard it.
No,
Nice.
that makes sense.
Good.
So, yeah,
I think that's a beautiful way to end the episode. Do you have any last words of advice, my love?
I don't know, just do your research. Like, the easiest thing you can do if you have a partner that has something, look it up. Be the advocate, just like on your vest.
Mhm.
If your partner has bipolar or ADHD or schizophrenic, do the research. Learn as much as you can about it, because just that effort that it takes to do that shows how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you can't understand it or you don't understand it, just that little bit can mean all the world.
You can even do that for things that they're interested in.
Right.
Like, for instance, like, I love Supernatural. He claims he doesn't need to watch it because he's done all the research and he knows everything. But like, it was sweet for him
Tumblr
to do
when
it.
Supernatural was the thing. I saw all of the gifs. I know that show more through gifs than I know some of my own favorite shows.
So essentially what I'm saying is, like, it not just for their mental health, but for just like everything. Like, I mean,
You don't
if
have to
they're
love
obsessed with, I'll use One Piece as an example. If you get with somebody that's obsessed with One Piece, first of all, they're committed. They're in it for the long haul.
It's going to be a
There's
good relationship.
It's going to be a really good relationship.
Over 1,000
But, like,
episodes, they're willing to go through 1,000 fights with you.
Exactly. So just do research on what they're interested in and maybe what they have. If they tell you, like, hey, I suffer from X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. That's it. You don't have to like it.
Yeah.
Just know a little bit about it.
Mm.
Don't, and who knows, you might find something that you guys can enjoy together.
Exactly. And you
Or-
might find a partner that is worth, like, being with through, like, this life that's worth living.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you both so much. This was a wonderful episode.
Thank
I
you,
really
guys.
appreciate the conversation. I look forward to meeting you both in person later this year.
So
Super
excited. It's going to be great. I literally was saying to him when we were at the grocery store the other day, earlier today, I'm like, you need to get back in your bread era. When Liana comes down, I want her to try your bread.
I love bread. It's my favorite.
Are you guys going to show us interacting in the real world on your shorts?
Cool.
Absolutely. We are going to be recording a lot of TikToks. It's going to be
I love that. Yay. Well, thank you both, and we'll talk again soon.
Yes. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of All Things Mental.
Please follow us on social media at All Things Mental Podcast to let us know how this episode helped you on your healing journey.
Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss an episode.
And remember,
You are not broken
you're just becoming a more beautiful version
of your higher self.